With Taskmaster set to step into the upcoming Black Widow movie, it's time to dive into a long history that's strange even by the standards of the Marvel Universe. From a school for supervillains to the South American village populated by Hitler clones, here's the truth behind the Taskmaster. The Taskmaster made his first appearance in 1980's Avengers number 195, arriving on the last page to set up his full appearance in the next issue and kick off a long career of supervillain exploits. Created by David Michelinie and George Perez, he has a superpower usually referred to as photographic reflexes. That's a fancy way of saying that if he sees someone doing something, he can replicate that action exactly, and he keeps that skill for the rest of his life. That would be a pretty impressive ability in the real world, but this is a dude who lives in the Marvel Universe. He can settle in with some footage of Spider-Man or Black Panther and hop off the couch a few hours later with the ability to perfectly replicate their movements. Of course, there's a limit to all this. Photographic reflexes are Taskmaster's only power. That means that while he can watch Captain America throwing his shield and replicate the movement, he doesn't have Cap's super strength behind it. Still, he's come away from his many battles against the Avengers with some pretty impressive abilities. While he's done his share of hands-on villainy, the Taskmaster's true calling has always been in education. Of course, his school, the Taskmaster Academy, is less of a learning institution and more of a for-profit training center for henchmen. For a low price, Taskmaster teaches classes of aspiring supervillains not only how to fight like superheroes, but more importantly, how to fight against them. While this mostly functions as a pretty fantastic explanation for where all the masked members of Hydra and AIM get the confidence to try to punch out Iron Man, it's worth noting that it's not just the bad guys who've taken advantage of the Taskmaster's skills. He's also been responsible for training a few of the good guys as well. As a supervillain mercenary, the Taskmaster doesn't have a whole lot of friends, but one of his more enduring acquaintances came in the form of another mercenary, Deadpool. The two characters had a rocky start to their relationship, first meeting when Taskmaster attempted to use Deadpool as a training dummy for his students, only to be foiled when Deadpool threw him off by breaking into a dance-off during their fight. It turns out he can only counter your moves if he can predict them, and as you may already know, Deadpool can be pretty unpredictable. After that, one of the Taskmaster's most predominant roles in the comics came when he was a member of Deadpool's supporting cast, and in more recent years, the two mercenaries have had a more back-and-forth frenemy relationship. They've occasionally come to blows while on opposite sides of a conflict, but Deadpool was always willing to help Taskmaster out by going easy on him in a fight, so the skull-faced opportunist could still get paid. Here's where it gets a little weird. While he's mostly shown up as a villain or a supporting character, the Taskmaster has dabbled in being a protagonist in his own right thanks to two self-titled miniseries. The first is a relatively straightforward action-adventure, but that second story is full-on bananas. The main premise is that the Taskmaster, ironically enough, has a memory problem. His brain is so loaded up with Shang-Chi's punches and Daredevil's backflips that his muscle memory has overwritten other, less important things, like his past. To solve that, he tries to track down his own memories. That leads him through things like an encounter with the Dawn of the Dead, a Latin American drug dealer who turns out to be a white American SHIELD agent who'd taken the Dawn of the Dead identity after Taskmaster trained him. That, however, pales in comparison to where that series ends up, Wewelsburg 2, a small town in the South American Andes where Nazi scientists escaped after World War II to attempt to clone Hitler. The most successful result was the longtime Marvel villain the Hate Monger, who first showed up back in 1963. But the scientists wound up with a gigantic stockpile of cloned Hitler brains, which leaked the Führer's biochemical essence into the local water supply. The result? Every man, woman, and child in the town essentially has Hitler's brain, leading to a constant warfare among themselves for control of the area. So, the next time someone tries to tell you how serious the Punisher is or whatever, remind them that he lives in the same world as Hitler Town. Beyond Wewelsburg 2 and the Dawn of the Dead, the big reveals of the Taskmaster series are the title character's origin and real name. For years, the Taskmaster has been getting his orders from a secret organization called the Org, but as it turns out, the Org doesn't actually exist. Instead, it's the wife that Taskmaster doesn't remember having, Mercedes Merced, who was also his partner back when he was a SHIELD agent named, wait for it, Tony Masters. As Nick Fury tells Steve Rogers, the Taskmaster has been a good guy all along, he just doesn't remember it. As Masters, he was sent to infiltrate the supervillain community for SHIELD, taking the Taskmaster identity as his cover. Unfortunately, thanks to a flawed prototype of the super soldier serum that expanded his powers, all of those skills he'd absorbed overwrote the personal parts of his memory. Mercedes Mercedes has been minimizing the damage for years by acting as Taskmaster's handler and pointing him in the right directions. Of course, once he discovers all this, his brain immediately erases it in favor of another new fighting style, putting a heartbroken Mercedes right back into the role of working with a husband who doesn't remember she exists. While it's doubtful that, say, the Dawn of the Dead will show up, it's not difficult to imagine how Taskmaster might fit into the Black Widow movie. Most of Natasha Romanoff's history has to do with her training in the Red Room, a secret Soviet program designed to create a series of highly trained agents who are given the codename of Black Widow. With the Taskmaster's history and his ability to serve as the perfect teacher in virtually any style of combat, it's easy to picture him as one of Natasha's trainers, and maybe even the person who's sent to clean things up once she defects to S.H.I.E.L.D. Sure, that's a pretty straightforward espionage plot, but it's also one that could fit neatly into the world of the MCU. Then again, given that we've seen Infinity Stones, the Celestials, and a talking raccoon in those movies, there's always a chance that Taskmaster and Widow will end up fighting a climactic battle in Wewelsburg 2. Seeing Marvel characters beating up a couple hundred Hitlers might just make Black Widow the feel-good movie of the year. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.